Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Johns Hopkins School of Education, Doctor of Education virtual webinar. My name is Sion John, I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions. Also here with me, I have my colleague from the Office of Admissions, and she will introduce herself.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanya McMillan, and I am an admissions coordinator here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education.
And lastly, also presenting today, we have Assistant Director of Financial Aid, Jen Coveney, alumni of the EdD program, Crystal Newby, and lastly, Professor and Interim Director of the EdD program, Dr. Camille Bryant. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. Also, please take a second to see if your mic is on mute right now. Please have your mic on mute at all times during the presentation. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box and we will answer your questions. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's presentation. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Bryant will go over the program details of the Doctor of Education program. We also have an alumni speaker, Crystal, and she will talk about her journey here at SOE. And lastly, we will cover admissions requirements and financial aid and leave the floor open for questions at the end. And to start, we are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,465 students and offer more than 30 graduate programs, which includes doctoral, master's, and graduate certificate programs. We also have a strong network of over 22,000 SOE alums. For faculty introduction, Dr. Camille Bryant is an associate professor and the interim director of the Doctor of Education program at SOE. Her research interests are in research methods on self-efficacy, program evaluation, and the role of contextual factors on the implementation of educational programs. At this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Bryant. Dr. Bryant will be presenting on the Doctor of Education program.
Hi, thank you, Sion. So I first want to just talk to everyone about the mission and vision of the EdD program. Our vision really is to have a broad impact, and being able to serve students across the globe really does help to fulfill that vision. We want to impact complex educational problems across the globe by preparing scholar practitioners who consider social justice issues as they lead change within educational contexts. So in order to fulfill this vision of the EdD program, it's designed to prepare an exceptional core of scholar practitioners, both nationally and internationally, who examine and intervene in educational problems of practice. You do that with reliance on the expertise as practitioners and a curriculum from our program that emphasizes transdisciplinary perspectives, systems thinking, improvement science, rigorous methodology, and social justice, all for the purpose of improving educational outcomes. So students in our program begin as practitioner scholars, and they leave as scholar practitioners, where research really is the driver for how they think about, explore, assess, and aim to solve educational problems. So who is this program ideal for? It's ideal for those experienced practitioners who want to examine real-world problems of practice within their context of professional practice. It's ideal for those students who want to create powerful interventions, targeted interventions that are based on research that inform us about what works. And it's also ideal for those students who want to rigorously evaluate how changes are made within their professional context. So in terms of our program at a glance, our program requires that students complete a minimum of 90 graduate credits beyond the bachelor's degree. So 30 to 36 of those credits typically come from your master's degree, and up to 36 credits are transferred automatically from your master's degree, with the potential for 6 additional credit hours that can be applied towards elective courses. So a minimum of 48 credits must be completed at JHU. So when you apply to the EdD program, you apply to a specialization. Specializations do vary by cohort, but for the fall 2021 cohort, these specializations include entrepreneurial leadership and education, mind, brain, and teaching, and instructional design and online teaching and learning. For those who have gone through our MBT certificate, you must select a different specialization other than the MBT specialization. So some of the features of our program are that it's rigorous, it's relevant, it allows students to develop a powerful intervention. It's typically completed within 3 to 4 years. It's online, it's asynchronous with some synchronous support. And the dissertation is taken up within coursework. So the coursework for our EdD program is comprised of credits taken within these areas. So you will take credits on the foundations of education, applied research and evaluation. You'll take courses within your specialization area, and then you'll take applied dissertation research credit hours. So within the program, there are transition points where students demonstrate their competency mastery in written and oral assessments. The first transition point is the year 1 paper, which is chapters 1 and 2 of the dissertation. And so this is where students examine factors related to their problem of practice. And how do they do that? They use literature as well as an empirical study within their context of professional practice. So the goal of that year 1 paper really is to have a solid draft of chapters 1 and 2 of the dissertation, and to examine the factors related to your problem deeply through the literature and through an actual empirical study where you're aiming to determine which of those factors from the literature are salient within your professional practice. The next transition point is the comprehensive examination. This is an oral examination following year 2 of the program. And the comprehensive exam is focused on the core courses. The next transition point is the dissertation proposal. And this is where students defend chapters 1 through 4 of the dissertation. So here they discuss the literature related to their problem of practice, as well as the findings from their empirical study, all of that coming from the year 1 paper in chapters 1 and 2 of the dissertation. They also would present on a second literature review, and that's related to interventions. So after looking at the literature initially, understanding what factors are related to the problem, doing an empirical study to understand which of those factors are salient within their professional practice, you take that knowledge and then look at the literature again to explore interventions that have addressed those salient factors that are exhibited within your problem of practice or within your professional context. And then chapter 4 is a proposed evaluation. So how are you taking that literature, making a decision about an intervention approach for your professional context, and how are you going to evaluate that? So how are you going to evaluate the implementation of that intervention, as well as examining the outcomes of that intervention within your context? And then the final transition point is the final dissertation. This is defended orally. This is where you present chapters 1 through 5 of the dissertation. And I'll talk a little bit more about these elements on the dissertation slide when I talk about the applied dissertation next. So the final and most significant requirement for the EdD degree is the applied dissertation. This really is the culmination of independently completed but closely interrelated projects. Again, that includes the first literature review about the problem of practice. What are those contributing factors of that problem, the empirical study of those factors within your particular context, those chapters 1 and 2 of the dissertation. The remaining chapters are comprised of another literature review where you're examining interventions to address those contributing factors that are determined from that empirical study, and then designing an intervention and studying the implementation and the effects of that intervention on addressing factors related to the problem. So that may seem like a lot, but the goal really is to study the problem deeply. And we feel that that is very important and central to the work of an EdD student. So you're not just thinking about a problem and making assumptions about why that problem exists and kind of throwing an intervention at the problem. We've seen that happen over and over in education, and we find that that approach doesn't work. So the approach that you learn in this program really is a more systematic way of first examining the problem deeply within your context and using that knowledge to develop a targeted intervention that is going to address the problem. So this requires that you have a strong understanding of the literature related to your topic, that you have a research methods toolkit that allows you to empirically examine the problem and the intervention. So the program is designed so that you're working on these chapters within your coursework across 3 years. The focus is on a contextualized problem of practice within your context. And again, the applied dissertation is designed for students to make significant change within their professional organizations, and there may also be implications for policy changes. So in order for students to meet the requirements of the program to successfully navigate these transition points, all leading to the completion of the applied dissertation, it's important to be intentional as a program about how we support students through all of these transition points. And so the support structures of the program are designed to aid in program completion. And so those structures include the online orientation during the summer prior to students' first fall semester. I'll talk a little bit more about that in greater depth. This introduces students to the technology of the program, the library resources, some foundational topics on research methods and training on research ethics, a course tour, just to name a few. There's also a face-to-face orientation in July. This past summer, of course, it was virtual, but we're hoping to go back to face-to-face, depending on what happens with the pandemic. But it's generally, historically, a face-to-face orientation that's held yearly in Baltimore. And this really is an exciting time. It's where you get to meet with other students in your cohort, meet with faculty, you engage in workshops on various topics that are all aimed to support your work in the program. There's also a faculty cohort lead to help you with navigating your courses, your program plan, and to provide you with general support when you enter the program. You'll also have a cohort lead every year that you're in the program. You're also assigned an advisor who begins working with you during your first year of the program. They are content experts. They provide feedback and direction to you as you complete those dissertation components in the courses that you'll be taking. They also act as your dissertation chair. And then of course, our instructors are always available and helpful and supporting students as you go through your coursework. We also have a dissertation clinic, which is an opportunity for students to receive method support. We have a site devoted solely to just a host of resources on research methods developed by the methods faculty in our program to help students kind of navigate what's often perceived as stressful and anxiety-ridden. Research methods can sometimes be cause anxiety for students, and so we want to make sure that we support students in that way. There's also a writing clinic where students receive help writing through one-on-one support and synchronous sessions as well. We have wonderful librarians. They do library webinars on things like developing a literature review and how to navigate the library resources and the library site to help you with that. And then we have our program and cohort sites on Blackboard where we communicate any announcements and provide just a host of other resources that we feel are helpful to students. So here's just a picture of the face-to-face orientation residency. I believe this was taken a couple of years ago. Again, this occurs in late July, and this is just a picture of one of the cohorts from that time. So I want to talk a little bit about the mandatory online orientation. This online orientation is required for incoming students who will be matriculating in the fall. It opens mid-May for students, and it must be completed. Sections 1 through 4 are completed prior to orientation residency, which is section 5. So as you can see, there are several sections, some with multiple modules. And this really is a time-intensive online orientation. It's provided to orient you to our program in multiple ways. And so if accepted into the program, you want to make sure that you factor the amount of time that it'll take to go through all of these different sections into your summer plans, because it will take you from May until July to complete all of these modules. As I said earlier, there's also the face-to-face orientation. This happens in late July. It's generally 2 to 3 days. If students are not able to attend, you can complete this virtually from a distance, so you can watch the recordings, and we're able to track that to make sure that you are getting all of the information that you should to support you in this program, or that will support you in this program. And again, this really is a time coming into the program. It's a time for you to learn more about your peers, to connect with them, to learn about the program, to talk with your cohort lead, and to really just engage with faculty and students in our program. We also have residency each year that's held at the same time as orientation. And so during your second and third year in the program, you would attend residency. And again, there are workshops that are held for students to support you in the program. So for example, as you're getting ready for comprehensive exams, we hold workshops on that during residency to support you, and a host of other workshops as well. Again, it just allows for program year specific learning to jumpstart your work each year in a face-to-face environment so that you're able to interact with faculty and students that way. So one of the questions that I'm asked a lot is, does my educational background kind of fit with this program? And I will say that students come from a variety of educational backgrounds. So not every student has a master's that's in the field of education. And so I wanted to just provide you with a few of our dissertation studies that kind of helps you to see kind of the varied research studies that are completed in our program. For example, one student did one on example-based learning to develop information search skills in higher education in the Arabian Gulf. Another student did one on HIV/AIDS infected young adults who are non-adherent with their medication. We've had students look at advisement models, entrepreneurship, and Escriba, which is an ed tech company in Brazil. Looking at business and education partnership models of endurance. And so I think that helps to give you an idea just of the breadth of topics that students explore in our program.
At this time, I would like to introduce you to our student speaker, Dr. Crystal Newby.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to join today. And I am an alum of the education department at Hopkins, and recently defended my dissertation as a part of the EdD program in July and conferred my degree in August. So it's official, but I'm excited to just spend a few minutes with you all today, just telling you about, the highlights of the program for me and why I chose this particular program. Just to give you some background, I currently work at the National Association for College Admission Counseling, which is a nonprofit in Arlington, Virginia, so just outside of Washington, D.C. And my background is college admissions. I used to work directly in college admissions. And so I've been in that profession in this field for 16 years now. And when I was deciding to look into doctoral programs, what really stood out to me for Hopkins EdD was the applied dissertation. And I really appreciated the fact that students use their professional context as the basis for their dissertation. So work that you're doing every day and what you know and what you are really engulfed in. And so that is what really stood out to me for the program. And I will tell you something that Dr. Bryant just mentioned, my master's degree is not in education. My master's degree is in human resources. And so a lot of students with different backgrounds and varying degrees really come into this program, which I think is something that makes it unique. So just keep that in mind. And I think I saw a question in the chat where someone asked, if you could still, transfer those credits in. And I still transferred in 36 of those credits from my master's program. Again, that was in human resources. So I just want to put that out there. My dissertation topic was students of color and college undermatching, counselors, connections, and college choice. And so I wanted to take a little more, a deeper look at the phenomenon known as college undermatch and really look at how school counselors can affect the college choice of students of color, whether they may go to a selective institution or not, because college undermatching generally happens to high achieving students who apply to or enroll in less selective institutions despite having the criteria to do so. And so I really wanted to talk about, how counselors are institutional agents and how counselors have the social capital to be able to inform students of all of their options when it comes to post-secondary education. Now, regarding highlights from the program itself, honestly, it was really my classmates who are also friends. I am a part of the 2017 cohort, and we all are pretty close in terms of a cohort. We keep in touch personally, we keep in touch over social media, over email. Really, this was the group that was there to be supportive through this journey, because it is a journey. And not everyone is going to understand exactly what this journey looks like, but your classmates will, because they're in this with you. And so I have truly made some lifelong friends. I had some of them text me today because I had a big work event, and some of them were able to tune in virtually, and they texted me and, you know, shared their love and how much they were proud of me, and we're setting up time to do Zooms and things like that. So that really truly is the highlight for me, are the relationships that I built. And then the last piece that I want to briefly cover is just give you some advice or some tips. When you're looking into graduate programs, into a doctoral program, you definitely want to make sure that the program aligns with your goals. What is it that you are looking to get out of a program? And do they align with your professional goals or your personal goals? And also, you want to make sure that you have a supportive community, that community of friends, that community of family, and mentors, whoever is there to support you. Because like I said before, this journey is a grind. It was the most difficult thing that I've had to do to this point in my life and in my career. And it can be trying and very draining. And so having that support system there is really a key piece of getting through this program as well. Having people there that understand, you know, sometimes you may not get to all of the functions, you know, that you're trying to get to, family functions or parties or things like that. Having folks that understand that. And on the flip side, also making sure you have that balance, making sure you have that school work life balance. Even though this program is rigorous, you want to make sure that you still do something for you. What is one thing that you're passionate about? What is one thing that you like to do? You know, whether it's shopping, at least when the malls were all the way open with COVID, you know, or watching a movie, or, you know, just, you know, watching Netflix, something, or whatever you like to do. Make sure you still do that thing, because you're going to have to find a balance. And then also remember your why when you're having those challenging moments working through the program. Remember why you're doing this. And lastly, this is one of my favorite things: be your own hype person, okay? Because you're going to have that support system there, but you also have to hype yourself up too, because you were accepted into this program for a reason. Once you are accepted, that's what I had to keep telling myself. And my friends and I, we would tell each other, we'd be like, listen, we're here for a reason. We got accepted for a reason. Hopkins saw something in us. And so you have to be your biggest fan as you're working through this program, and everything will fall into place. And when you get to the other side, it's worth it. Definitely, I cried a lot of tears, especially when it came to methodology. Dr. Bryant talked about the support services earlier that we have, but coming out on the other side, it's one of the things that I am most proud of that I have done. So just some tips of advice from me. I wish you all the best of luck in this journey, should you pursue it.
Thank you, Dr. Crystal Newby. That was a great presentation. Thank you. So now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. Applications must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. Keep in mind there is an $80 application fee. Next, you will need an updated resume highlighting your educational and professional background. Your personal statement should not exceed more than 750 words describing a problem of practice relevant to your current context of professional practice. Be sure to align your problem of practice with one of the 3 specializations. Moving on, you should submit 3 letters of recommendation: a professor you worked with in your master's program who could speak on your competency to conduct scholarly work, and a professional recommender who can attest to your qualifications to pursue a doctorate degree. This recommender would support also your problem of practice. And please keep in mind, you are able to submit 3 professional references if you're not able to have an academic reference. And one final note is to make sure one of your professional recommenders is your executive sponsor. Your executive sponsor should be someone who will be an asset in helping you gain access to data and/or participants related to your problem of practice. Next, the GRE is not a requirement for admissions consideration to the EdD program. It is optional for an applicant to submit a GRE test score as part of the application. Official transcripts. We need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. And lastly, all applicants will be asked to complete a virtual interview upon submitting their application. The EdD application is open for fall 2021 admission. You will be able to find the application on the school's website. The application deadline is January 6th, and then any supporting materials, for example, your official transcripts, letters of recommendation, virtual interview, must be in by January 22nd. Applications will be reviewed from February to mid-March, and finally, admissions decisions will be released mid-March. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you're an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score, and if your degree was completed outside of the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our website. And at this time, I will hand the floor over to my colleague Jen, and she will go over tuition and financial aid.
Thank you so much, Sion. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Coveney, and I'm the Assistant Director of Financial Aid here at the School of Education. As you can see on the slide here, let's see. So as you can see, for the 2021-22 academic year, the estimated cost of tuition is $1,531 per credit. For the EdD program, courses are 3 credits each. So the cost of a 3-credit course would be approximately $4,593. In addition, there is a $175 registration fee applied per semester and a technology fee of $15 per credit hour. Okay, so for financial aid and scholarships, so students in the EdD program can be eligible for federal financial aid. Federal aid includes federal loans. So the federal government does offer a federal direct unsubsidized Stafford loan in the amount of $20,500 per academic year. And that would be divided evenly between the semesters in which you're enrolled at least half time. So in order to be eligible for these federal loans, students must be either a US citizen or permanent resident. They must complete the FAFSA application, and the FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The FAFSA application for 2021-22 will become available next month. So you can start filling out your FAFSA in October for the 21-22 academic year. Students must also be enrolled at least half-time. So here at the School of Education, half-time is considered 4.5 credits or more per semester. For the EdD program, the courses are 3 credits each. So that would be 2 classes that a student would need to take per semester in order to be half-time and eligible for federal aid. Along with the federal direct unsubsidized Stafford loan, the federal government also has the federal direct graduate plus loan. And the plus loan can be used for any additional to cover any additional tuition charges not covered by the Stafford loan. It also can be used to cover living expenses and books and supplies, transportation, those types of expenses. So those are the 2 federal loan options. Along with the federal aid, there are also scholarships available. There are 2 different scholarships available here at the School of Education. There are the institutional or endowed scholarships. The endowed scholarship, it does require an application, and that application form is not available yet. It typically becomes available in January. So you can check the financial aid website in January for that application. And students would also need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to be eligible for the endowed scholarships. So the endowed scholarships, the application process would be the FAFSA, as well as the endowed scholarship form that will become available in January. And the endowed scholarships are typically, between 500 to about 2,000, and that would be for the academic year. And they are, we do have a limited amount of endowed scholarship funding. So the majority of students, would not receive an endowed scholarship, but there is the process, and that will begin in January. So definitely encourage you to complete the application for that. That will become available in January, as well as the FAFSA application. The other type of scholarship available are the EdD scholarships, and those are awarded directly by the EdD program. And a separate application is not required for that. So the students that are awarded an EdD scholarship, that would be based solely on the admissions documents that are submitted. And yes, I believe that covers the 2 different types of aid, the federal and institutional. And also the financial aid office is here to answer any questions that you may have. So please reach out to us. My name is Jennifer, and I'm the assistant director, and we have Haisha Nesmith, who is our director, and then we have our coordinator, Monica Hudson. And we're able to even set up a phone appointment if you would like. And our contact information is soe.finaid@jhu.edu. And I look forward to being able to help you all in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, Jen. So if you have any questions relating to your application, please contact Tanya McMillan. And any program-related questions, please contact Kathy Chow and Dr. Bryant. Thank you for attending the Doctor of Education program presentations. At this time, Dr. Bryant, Tanya, and I would like to open up the floor for questions. Please type your questions in the chat box.
Okay, so I'll start from the top here. Alicia has a question around credit hours that are transferred as part of the EdD degree. So she asked, can we still use 36 plus 6 hours from our master's degree if it is, or if it was in our discipline, but not education? So between 30 and 36 credits from your master's degree are automatically transferred to the EdD, towards your EdD degree. The additional 6 hours or 6 credits can be used towards elective credits. And we would do an assessment of those transcripts, looking at the course syllabi, and what courses they align to in our program to determine if those 6 additional credits are accepted or not. She also asked, can my problem of practice be longitudinal, meaning I teach high school, but I inherit students with 10+ years of education that hasn't prepared them for my classes? Can I investigate potential interventions outside of my current students? Yes, of course. So everything kind of hinges on your problem of practice. And so if your problem of practice is broad in that way and looks at students across multiple grades and years in school, then that would be the focus of your problem. So you would explore literature related to that specific problem for those specific students, and you would eventually develop an intervention related to that. So your intervention research does not have to focus solely on your current students. So what would you estimate is the balance of synchronous versus asynchronous coursework during a typical semester of the program? That's a great question. So our program is primarily asynchronous. There are synchronous opportunities. So generally for each of your courses,
Yes. Okay, I'm putting it in.
I think someone's mic isn't muted.
Okay, 1 minute.
Thank you. So generally during your courses, your professors will have synchronous sessions 2 to 3 times a semester to go over an assignment or to provide some clarity. You can probably expect more synchronous sessions in the methods courses just because we found that students need additional synchronous support in those courses. Maria, similar to, I guess, an earlier question, you're asking about transfer credits. So you said, I'm currently in a teaching cohort, master's program in curriculum and instruction. This is my first semester with 2 classes per semester. Is it possible to transfer any credits I will obtain? So yes, as I said earlier, 30 to 36 credits from your master's program are automatically transferred to the EdD degree. And if you want to transfer additional courses towards electives, you can transfer up to 6 courses given a review of those courses in alignment to the courses you're wishing to transfer for those particular credits. Does the problem of practice need to be present locally in my current school district, or could it be a problem of practice from my past work district? I think you have to just weigh the pros and cons of that. So most of our students are examining a problem of practice within their professional practice because they have an insider perspective. It's probably, it may be more conducive to collecting data and knowing who the gatekeepers are, having that executive sponsor for support within that local context. But that does not mean that you can't examine a problem of practice from a past work experience or a past district. I think it's just making sure that you will be able to have access to that population for the 3 years that you are in the program. So Jolene asked, my master's program has ceased operations and I do not have access to my previous professors. How do we notify admissions? What recommendation would you submit in lieu of a professor's recommendation? So one of the, I think Sion, you might want to chime in on this as well, but you can have an additional professional recommendation if you're not able to get that academic recommendation.
Yes, that's correct, Dr. Bryant.
Okay. can we do this program if we don't work at a school, but at a university in a research lab? Yes, that's certainly an option for you. Students in our program don't all work in a school setting. And so I think that's kind of the beauty of our program. We accept students from a variety of backgrounds. Of course, the majority do work in a school setting, but not all. The main thing is, looking at your problem of practice. Is it a real problem? Is it feasible to examine that problem of practice within your current institution, wherever that might be? And is there an educational focus on that problem of practice? So Mandy asked, if I am an education consultant, would I still be able to complete the dissertation requirements? Yes, you can. Residency and campus dormitory, that's a great question. So no, students do stay in a hotel. Our resident orientation residency, that face-to-face experience, is generally at a hotel somewhere in downtown Baltimore, usually in the Inner Harbor area. How many?
Dr. Bryan, I can answer the next question and give you a little break.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, you've been so helpful. Next question is from Julene. How many students applied and how many were accepted this semester? So for the fall 2020 cohort, we had 208 applicants and the admission rate was 48%. And that was for fall 2020. And our next.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Thanks, Sion. I hold a master's degree from Buffalo State University of New York, based in Jordan, Amman. How do I fill that information in on the application? Okay, I think I understand your question from Hawazin. The answer to that, if you're attending SUNY Buffalo, and that would be online, I'm assuming, then you would definitely put in SUNY Buffalo, which is in the United States, not in Jordan. So definitely enter that as a United States based school and institution.
And the next question we have is, if I previously obtained my master's in education and counseling, but I am not currently working in the field, can I still apply and be accepted into this program to obtain my EdD?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we look at every aspect of your application to make our admissions decision, but you certainly can be accepted even if you're working outside of the field that your master's degree is in. You really want to pay attention to your problem of practice and whether or not that problem of practice is kind of contextually based and has an education focus and aligns with a specialization, and we'll look at everything else. We'll look at your transcripts, we'll look at your recommendation letters, all of those different pieces to make an admissions decision. Alicia asked, how much data should we include in our problem of practice statement? This is a good question. I think it's always nice when, if you can, maybe situate your problem of practice using data. So you're kind of demonstrating through the use of data that the problem actually exists within your context. So that might be one way to include data as part of your problem of practice statement. Would you be able to provide a breakdown of the types of education sectors EdD students often represent? For example, I work in higher adult learning for healthcare professionals, and I'm curious if the curriculum will be applicable to me or more geared to K through 12 and college educators. So that's a great question. Our students come from a variety of sectors, of course, the public and private K through 12 sectors, higher ed, nonprofit organizations, educational research organizations, tech companies, healthcare field, I mean, it really does vary. I think, again, what we're looking for is that students have a problem of practice that has an educational focus. So even if you're coming from a healthcare background, what is it about your problem of practice that you're exploring using the lens of education?
Question that we have. Thank you, Dr. Bryant.
Oh.
Were you finished?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure. Thank you. Does the recommendation letter have to be sent directly from my professor by mail, or can it be sent by email? So just to explain the process for recommendations, when you go into the application form, there is a recommender section where you will actually input your recommender's full names and a professional title and their professional email address. And once you do so, the system will send them an email inviting them to submit a recommendation on your behalf to the program. So that won't come to you or into our office for us to physically get a letter, but you would have to definitely identify those parties within the application form.
The next question we have is, would the Mind, Brain, and Teaching program support the study of the development among early childhood students from low-income households?
Yeah, it certainly would. So the Mind, Brain, and Teaching specialization focuses on really neuroscience and education. And one of our faculty leads, her name is Dr. Ranjani John Bull, would be happy to talk more about that specific specialization, but I would think this would be a research focus that would fit well within that specialization.
The next question is, how should you choose an executive sponsor form if you do not work in a school system or university system?
So the role of that executive sponsor really is for you to have someone who can help you with gaining access to data within your context. So someone who is kind of that gatekeeper who can help you to navigate that process, because you'll start collecting data during your first year in the program as part of that empirical study to examine contributing factors to the problem. And so whoever that is within your organization is who you want to target to take on that executive sponsor role. The next question, if our context were to change between our application and entry to the program, how does that impact the experience? Can the problem of practice change after applying? So generally, problems of practice change slightly. There shouldn't be a major shift in what you're wanting to examine while you're in the program, but we know that one, through the program, your problem of practice will become more refined. By going through your first semester of coursework, you'll have a better understanding of maybe pinpointing exactly what you want to examine, exactly what that problem will be, which you may not have at the beginning of the program. So I think it's better if your context changes before entry into the program as opposed to after. I think that poses more problems. But that's something you can certainly, if accepted, you would talk with your cohort lead about, so they can guide you in terms of, thinking about how to refine your problem of practice based on kind of your movement between organizations.
Julian asks, what is the acceptance rate for students who apply without taking the GRE? So for fall 2020, 65% of offered applicants did not submit a GRE score. 35% of those admitted did submit GRE scores.
So the next question we have is, do UK nationals need to take the TOEFL or similar? So the English language proficiency requirement is waived if you're a citizen of in the UK. And I want to remind everyone, we do have only 4 minutes left, so we'll try to answer your questions as much as possible. The next question we have is, do most of the program participants also work full-time?
Yes, they do. I would say 99% of our students work full-time. And that's one of the reasons we have been intentional about the design of this program in terms of taking up the dissertation within your coursework. So you're not having to spend extra time outside of, well, you'll still spend extra time, but in the way that you would in a PhD program, for example, you wouldn't take up the dissertation in coursework. And so you're developing and refining those chapters as you're taking courses. So our courses typically held synchronously or asynchronously. So courses are held asynchronously. Again, there is some synchronous support. Any sessions that are held synchronously are recorded, so students can always go back and watch it if the time zone didn't fit with their schedule. And faculty also try to hold synchronous sessions at different times, so maybe one in the evening and one in the morning to kind of allow for international students to participate in that live experience. So is this a program for folks who do work in public school districts or more for others interested in education? What percentage of students in this program are currently working in public education? So like I said, our students come from a variety of backgrounds, but the work that you're doing in the program should and will have a focus in education. It doesn't mean that you're working in an education field. What percentage of students in this program are currently working in public education? I would say between 65 and 70% are working in public education, maybe upwards of 75%.
Next question we have, are the EdD scholarships merit and/or financial based?
And feel free to jump in here, Jen.
Thank you so much. I apologize. Sure. So the EdD scholarships, that they are not awarded by the financial aid office. They are awarded directly by the EdD program and based on merit.
So what is the sum of the EdD scholarships through the EdD program? So I'm not sure if you're asking about the number of students who are awarded or the total amount of money that we distribute. So I can tell you the latter. We typically distribute between $350,000 to $450,000 in scholarships every year.
And the last question we have, the dissertation topics. I'm sorry, my screen is jumping. I apologize. The dissertation topics appear quite diverse. However, as a part of the application and personal statement, I think I heard in the slide overview that our focus should align to one of the 3 specializations. How do you recommend prioritizing those 2 ideas?
Yeah, that's a good question. So within every specialization, there's still diverse topics that can be explored. So for example, entrepreneurial leadership in education, there are several thousands, hundreds, hundreds of thousands problems or practices that can be explored using an entrepreneurial lens with an education focus. The same thing for the mind, brain, and teaching. There are multiple problems that can be explored from by using a neuroscience perspective, a neuroeducation perspective. The same thing with the instructional design and online teaching and learning. So multiple types of problems that can be explored from that particular lens. And so I think the diversity of topics does reflect that. The diversity of dissertations does reflect that. Multiple topics can be explored within these different specializations, and that's done readily in our program.
Okay, well,
So
thank
it is.
you. Go ahead and see.
Go ahead. We'll do one more question.
Okay, let's see. For our last question, one moment. Does the program offer any opportunities for the administration certificate along the way?
Thanks for that question. No, we don't. So none of our specializations have are aligned with the certificate.
All right. Unfortunately, it is 4:02 p.m. We are out of time. And if we were not able to answer your question, please email us. And Tanya, she'll chat in our email address to admissions. Your question, and we'd be more than happy to have a conversations with you. Thank you so much for Dr. Bryan for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Newby, for joining us. It was a great presentation from everyone. Thank you for joining us and for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.